girls, that's what I call them, the girls, Aubrey and Maya really rocked it on this this little mini book. We just keep dialing it in and dialing it in. We're using the bite model to deprogram the anti-sex cult, or the cult of anti-sex. I'm not sure which one we're going to call it, but rooted in misogyny in ways that you can't even see it is really what's so profound. It is one of those, once you see it, you can't not see it, but until you see it, you really don't see it. And so much of it has to do with the locus of power, the imagined or visual locus of power that you have, and there are people who hold it all the way out here in culture. They hold, like the power, the culture has power over them. And so they're looking for the cultural reasons for their discontent. And then there are the people who hold it here at the physical. And so some discontent or discomfort will arise, and they'll look for the physical symptoms and diagnosis in order to answer. I answered a question yesterday about what is it? What do I have? Menopause. It gives you a brain fog. No, joking. But that happens because I have a brain fog because I'm menopausal. And so they'll go to the locus of power out here, to the physical understanding of reality as the cause. And then you come in further, and there's the emotional reality that people ascribe power to, ascribe cause to. And so they'll, oh, I was just feeling sad, as if it's happening at the mercy of you, not that it's emanating from you, which, as you begin this process of removing the layers of tumescence to get to the only locus of power, which is, well, it isn't even self, it's inside of what is the imagined self is. It's pretty great. So then and these can be used interchangeably with the intellectual or conceptual understanding of things. And so, it's just a great one is just plain old identity, the imagined identity. I just am that way. I'm just a depressed person. I'm just a sad person. I have a proclivity toward anger. You're at the mercy of these conditions of, what you're ascribing them to, because we're going to go further in. And then there's the energetic. And usually when people are first waking up to the energetic levels, they're very irritating. I've been one of them, so I can this one I can make fun of, because because it's all of a sudden, up to here, when you're ascribing blame or cause, and this is where most of the world lives, by the way, from here out, in terms of what the cause of your discontent is. And so the causes and the solutions are out here in people's minds. So then when you go into the energetic, that's when you begin to, you're a little bit outside of normative culture, unless you're in Asian countries, but you begin to understand the movements of energy as causes of discomfort, but they're still not the original cause. But you begin to understand, you start doing things like tumo, if anybody's familiar with tumo, which unlocks the various knots located in the body. And as you do, you notice this shocking thing. Oh my God, I unlocked a knot. I was feeling sad. Now I'm happy. Whoa, that's crazy. And then you begin to understand, oh, there are these invisible causes that are operating in the physical body that have a profound effect on the psyche. And that's when you begin to see that we've all been told that the mind is the cause of the brain, mind, the head is the cause of the experience in the body, and you're going to see this monkeys up, monkeys down, the idea that man has dominion over nature, that, the mind has dominion over the body. And then you're going to discover, oh my God, that's upside down. That is bonkers. And that actually I can really profoundly clear a greater portion of discomfort simply by getting flow into the energetic body. And yoga and the like begin to do that, and they're really profound experiences. Really just the mind in flow is joy. I mean, isn't that crazy? And so that's really the realization of the energetic level of reality, is that out here, oh, it's so complex. The things that you have to overtake the entire US government, and you have to control every single person that you date and how they treat you and talk to you. And you have to control your coworkers because they can only speak to you in certain ways. And there's all of these things you really have to exert control out here, because there is no power. That's the thing that you have to realize when you ascribe any kind of causality out here. There is no power. And so then everything is control. That's the only thing that can operate, is trying to control the conditions that you perceive bring you into a state of discomfort. And so then, oh, wow, then you go here, and this is the middle world, maybe the Bardo world, where you can begin to have some profound shifts just in energy. And this is, I had this really funny, cool friend who says, he was talking about, when he did Vipassana, and he discovered that he had control over the energy body in certain, you don't have control over it, but that he could get flow in the energy body, even when very difficult things were happening. And he said, and I could just look at he had a lot of issues with his mother. I could just look at my mother's face, and I could just see it as light, shadow, close, far. You hit that very neutral place, and you aren't impacted by the perceived infractions that of the world. And there are many, and that's good. And so when we talked about freedom from, freedom to yesterday, and I said, okay, really, there's this whole world over here that's a freedom from world, and that's really, that world is where you have the locus of power out here. Okay. And then I said, we aren't going to go that far into this world. But there is this kind of energetic world. And I said, you hit Mahayana, that I would say, now you have to know, no other Mahayana would say this, but I think it's true, so they should adopt it. And that is the phrase of Mahayana should be, acceptance is the answer to all of our prayers, because that's what you learn. You learn your knees hurt, you accept it, they begin to open. When they open, there's no pain. It's just constant versions of that. You accept that we live in this polarized mind. As soon as you accept it, it opens, the trap door opens, and all of a sudden a whole other world appears. Everything has to do with this kind of acceptance. The only issue with people who really only practice acceptance is that they tend to be very aggressively accepting, and they want you to be that way too. And so there's a way that they'll say some version of, just accept it. And they don't really mean that, but they don't know this next part. And, I lived in the Bay Area. As I said, Bay Area Buddhism is it's just steeped in this aggressive passivity, acceptance. And then that's where you have to begin to add assertion. And this is the freedom too. We're not going to go that far into it. I'm just going to open it, and I'm going to say, and that is where you really begin to touch karma directly. And that's when you begin to steer karma and move karma rather than merely being moved by it. And that's the place where you begin to play with that your circumstances don't matter in terms of whether or not you're happy. And to me, that was what I was interested in. Unfortunately, I was too interested in it. I signed the contract, and they said, okay, if you're really interested in unconditional freedom in all conditions, we're going to put you in all conditions, and you'll see, you'll have to find happiness there. That's what it'll be. And so, but here's the thing: you can, no matter what. I think I qualify in terms of being able to say, I believe you can find happiness no matter where you are. Not only that you can, but that it's your responsibility as a human being. I mean, I think if everybody determined that they were going to, Joseph Campbell's follow your bliss. If everybody determined that they were going to be, happy at this level of karma, then we wouldn't have any problems in the world. Isn't that powerful? And you think about how it's all located out here, where everyone's powerless really to make that much change. You're just shifting furniture on the Titanic when you're making changes in samsara. It's not bad, but there are waves. It goes forward. You look at civil rights, forward. Civil rights go backward. Civil rights go forward. I was listening to Black Lives Matter and folks, and they were saying we're back where we were before slavery. At the time of slavery, it's like, oh wow, the wave really went that way apparently. And then you listen to people talk about what's happening with abortion, and that women are losing their abortion rights. And we backslid to the time before, the suffrage movement. And so it's like that, that isn't where your or my happy, well, maybe yours, I don't know. That's not where my happiness is located. So then I think you get to what is the task here. And this is a very difficult task for women, incredibly difficult task. And that is to first and foremost, dial it back to where the locus of power, the locus of responsibility, the locus of ascription is all right here. It's all here. Now, here's the trick I'm going to tell you. There are a few tricks in this. And one is we often talk about karma as if it's a punishment. And it just plain isn't. One of the really powerful moments for me to understand karma, and I've had to understand karma, that's where I'm at, in order to not drown. One of the powerful things was I could not understand how you could have pure intent in your heart and have results that weren't good. Results that hurt, And so I was talking to a Buddhist teacher, a friend of mine, about this, and I said, I don't understand. And he said, but look at MLK, look at his intent. And he said, but karma has many streams. This is one of the most important things I can say to you is karma has many streams. And one of the things that you can't forget, Nicole, is what he said to me. One of the things that you can't forget is that he knew the danger he was walking into when he took that mission. Taking a mission does not relieve you from the karmic difficulties of the mission. You're just granted a certain fortitude in knowing the intent of your heart that gives you strength, hopefully to make it through, but apparently not always. In fact, apparently most of the time not. So part of karma is also having the capacity to read karma, to remember karma, to listen to your inner gurus. There are 4 gurus. One of them is the inner guru and the experience guru. And so you have to listen to the experience of all of the people who have made the choices that you've made. And you have to recognize you also still don't have a choice in many ways. For example, I didn't have a choice. I'm a smart woman. I'm smart enough to know that any woman who takes on the mantle of women's sexuality is going to have some blowback in the world. But I still didn't have a choice. I mean, I had a choice, but I didn't have a choice. This is, by the way, this is one of the great debates in Buddhism. Is free will. I think at the last, a friend of mine was telling me they were at this last great, Buddhist debate, and they came up with that we have 1% free choice. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm not going to argue it, but I am going to say that this person felt very. The wheels were already rolling in my karma toward taking the mantle of what I took on. I think I probably left my last life saying, I'm going to pick that up in the next life. And so it was already rolling when I got in. And then you face difficulties. And then the best karma any one of us could ever have. So I play pinochle. And, the best hand you can ever have is 2 queens of spades and 2 jacks of diamonds. That's double pinochle. So the best karma any of us could ever have is a mind that views all things as an opportunity, for benefit. And that opportunity for benefit could be for you or for others, no matter what enters your world. If you have that mindset, then that's the difference, I would say, between heaven and hell. And because that moment that you hit, poor me, why is this happening to me? You're dead, you're sunk, it's over. And there's a beautiful woman who said she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I told you all, I watch these things all the time. And she stood, and I was particularly moved because, I want to cry. She was standing in the redwoods. I love the redwoods in Northern California, but she was standing in the redwoods, and she said she was just standing there saying, why me? Like, why? And she was a good practitioner, all of these things. And then all of a sudden this voice just said, why not me? And she said her life changed that day, her relationship, and the woman died from cancer. So it's not like that realization stopped the cancer. Those things I don't think happen necessarily. They may. You may just turn into a rainbow body of light. But I think it's important to understand what the aim is. Yesterday, we talked about the potential ways that we lose ourselves, the tumescence, when we get closer to that center. And so what is the center? The center is moving the locus of power here, so that any diagnosis you give, hopefully the first one that arises is karma. It's not that person, it's not how I grew up, it's none of that shit. Because it's not I. If you could really get to that place, then it's a lot more interesting to play with. So that's where I thought I'd start today. I'm going to do questions, but I'm going to kind of keep moving us along the road as we go. I think Thursday, so somebody has asked to speak with me on Wednesday, so I'm going to be doing that Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, tomorrow I have a podcast. I'm doing a podcast with someone, so I won't be here. But Wednesday I will be here and speaking with someone. I don't know how it's going to go. And then Thursday, my prayer is that we begin to open the bite model, if we can really get it dialed in. But I want to wait until it's really refined for you all. And maybe I'll come back to the steps of unleashing a woman's power. But for now, I'm going to do the next question. And that is, Karen, can we end war through harnessing Eros? Where do we start? And I would say there's no other way to end war. No, there just isn't. I mean, and one of the things you can do just for fun is look at countries with highly restrictive sexuality, and their warring tendencies, and countries that denigrate women, and what the relationship is to war. But yeah, there is only one force strong enough, as I said, to pierce through the membrane of the ego. There's only one, the individual ego, and there's only one force strong enough to penetrate through the collective ego. And that is Eros. And there's only one force. You learn this when you really begin in Tibetan practices. You watch, you really activate your sexual energies, not your your sexual energies. You activate those energies, and they cause a certain heat, and they subdue the more aggressive energies. Well, that's probably the easiest way I can say it. So if you want to subdue greed, hatred, and delusion, what you're going to have to do is have a world of women who have activated their sexual energies, who have a very clear signal, as I said yesterday, and the day before, in terms of evolutionary biology, women track the environment and men track women. You know, women are looking for a place to, women can't go into climax, interestingly, they call it orgasm, when they don't feel safe. This is true in all animals. They can't open and release. The release in most female animals is important because what it does is it draws the sperm up toward the egg. So it's important that she have a relaxed system in order to be able to do that, in order to be impregnated. And so she's looking for places, safe places for that to happen. And he's looking for her for that to happen. That's just, remember I talked about the Dharma. There are certain underlying laws in terms of how things move. That's one of those things. So it's going to have to be that she harnesses this sexuality, that her signal becomes clear, and he follows her to the place of ending greed, hatred, and delusion. That's how it will happen. I can imagine that it might be a little difficult to imagine, but I have no doubt it's the only way it could happen. It's like I said yesterday, an acorn can only grow into an oak tree. It doesn't have any other option. There is no other structural means by which this can occur. And so we keep postponing the work of it. And I would really say to my sister, what am I calling them? Sister ships, sister friends. I would really say to my sister friends that, you know, we're a little late. We're a little late on harnessing the Eros in ourselves in such a way that we can steer very clearly. And I think it's time. So yes, that's how I think it happens. I think it's a moment, it's a flash of understanding there is no other way. And I will say that I've never met a woman, including myself, who did not look for another way, because it's, you know, it's the equivalent to death. Everything in you has been told. And I don't like talking witch stuff that often because it sounds so cliche. Everyone was using witch hunts and really, you know, and like there were actual witch hunts, you guys. And but every woman has in her cellular psychic memory the notion that if you express power through sexuality, and let's be clear, when we're talking about witches, that's what we're talking about. When you're talking about the broom on her vagina that has belladonna on it, and that she's riding that so that she can fly, that's what you're talking about. And so every woman has in her cellular understanding that to do that is to face a certain burning and a certain death. And I think it's our version of the Jesus story, where, you know, to go to greatness, in his story, you get brought down to death, to Persephone, to be changed in order to come back up as the humble gardener, as Jesus did. You get resurrected. And you know, these stories play out for people, but that one really plays out for men. We were already down here, so we're like, what do you mean? I don't understand. A cross up there. But ours really has to do with this cellular memory of being burned. And I would say, though, the significance of that being burned is being purified of the delusion that you are not the one. You are not, as the Joseph Campbell one, the destination. So that's where I would start. If you want to know where to start, that's where I would start, is the admission, you know, the same admission an alcoholic has to make, that I can't postpone this anymore. This is killing me and harming all of the people around me. It's time for me to make a change. The change that I am to make is to make a vow, an oath, an agreement with my own sexuality, that I will listen to it in such a way that I follow it with fidelity in order to allow it to transform me the way it needs to transform me, so that I can transform the world. Cassandra, how do we move with reality even if someone is being a jerk? I don't know that there is a reality where someone isn't being a jerk. That's really the funny thing. I have to say, I happen to be in a place of a lot of jerks. Mm. And I try everything. So my biggest answer is whatever works. Whatever keeps your peace is what you do. And I remember when I first discovered that you could just walk away. And that was profound. So I just walked away from everyone all the time. And then I discovered, oh, okay, that doesn't work all the time. And so then I discovered some other skills. I got some more in my toolbox. And I would say that the best thing that I know is to see it as play. There's a scene in Dangerous Beauty where she learns to verbally joust. And you see that she elevates it to the level of craft, and you see it, the most pure delight in playing inside of that craft. And the guy who eventually ends up being a real jerk, is just lobbing everything at her that he can. And it's very similar to the Tibetan nuns who have to debate with equal parts wisdom and compassion. You can't just debate with an insult. You have to debate in a way that sneaks in the education that wakes the person up. And in the wake up, they don't come after you, not just because you knock them out. That's not, it's not a bad play. It's just not the highest play. When I play, I try to always, I try to knock them out with their own realization is what I try to do. A little like, are you sure that's who you want to be? So that's that. So the biggest thing, if you have enough Eros in your body, then you have a certain luxury. That luxury is the ability to see everything as a kind of play and a kind of theater and an opportunity, as I said, for benefit. And you can benefit the person, and you can benefit yourself, and you benefit yourself by getting them off your ass. And then you can, but you can also benefit yourself in terms of carrying out your little bodhisattva duty in that moment, and plunking them with some wake up, and then you benefit them as well. It may not always look like benefit, but if that's my intent, is always to play with peace, increase power, wrath, and activity in any way arising, however is most beneficial for the moment. And what is beneficial? That's your question. In my mind, beneficial is both people experiencing greater freedom, a greater sense of freedom, whatever that is. And if somebody's being a jerk to me, my sense is that they're probably bound by tumescence or klesha. They're bound by something. Oh, and they're just suffocating in that, and that they're just pouring that junk, the pain out on me in that moment. But it's just an unconscious pouring of their own pain from being strangled by a klesha. So let's get that klesha off of them, and let's keep rolling. But by the way, though, but I was to hang around. That's another thing that I learned is like I used to have Bay Area do-gooder Buddhism, and I used to think like after that you have to hang out with them. You don't. No, you just you just do your little sword, and then you set up a standard that if you actually want to enter this space, that's going to be a whole other thing. Nobody's going to enter this space until they are of the highest level of honoring and respect. And that's for them as well, because I'm not somebody who you want to go against in my mind. I'll treat you well, you treat me well. So you have to know what you're entering, and that's important. Both of those things are very important. It's very clear that it's important to know your boundaries and to know your value. I'd say that's number one. If you know your value, then you can hold a boundary, and then you can have it be that if somebody's a little snarky, a little mean, a little grumpy, then now's just not the time for them to be hanging out with you. That's perfectly acceptable. And it also can have them wake up like, wait a minute, I want to be in there. And then they can be nice. And when they're nice, they can come in. That's my rule. Vita. I go back and forth, feeling forth from feeling very open sexually to feeling closed, because I'm always navigating an inner world that nobody else can see. Is there anything that can help? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the first thing I would do would be to define sexual. I think people often define sexual as, how about I'm a sexual energy anarchist. I want decentralized government. And so I want decentralized orgasm. And so we often have it that, feeling sexual means like a little horny, and it's located in your genitals or your erogenous zones. And for me, sexual is it's anything that has an energy of merging. When I'm deep in the throes of writing, and it feels like there is a voice on this side of the computer, and I'm over here, and the two of us are one, and we're lockstep, and I'm just taking dictation and getting to experience this thought form at the exact same time that it's happening. There is no making love like that for me. It is profound. And so to begin to understand that this kind of love making is always available in myriad forms, and we don't want to just lock it down and sequester it in some kind of physical activity, while at the same time we don't want to what is that? Neglect the physical. That's it. The only reason I talk so much about sex isn't even that interesting. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a pretty doorway. And by the way, everybody's doorway isn't necessarily pretty. Mine happens to be well decorated doorway, but they all lead into the same place, and they just lead into. My malas are pretty too. They're all pretty things. But the reason that I talk about it is that it is so profoundly neglected and denigrated and rejected. And it happens to be really the most convenient doorway in. It's a lot. I can tell you that sex is a lot more convenient than psychedelics. I used to try tripping in 7-Eleven, and that was not convenient. Although I suppose having sex in there wouldn't have been either. So the reason, I can tell you. How about this? If all of us were in perfect acceptance of sex, I would just zip my lip and move on. I don't have a special fidelity to it. I just have a special fidelity to something that's a profound entry point that I want everyone to have access to. That's all. So I would say the nature of sex is waves. And sometimes it can feel like it's coming, sometimes it can feel like it's going. So then the question is, can you get beneath the waves? For me, this is my question. This answers the menopause question too. Can you get beneath the waves? Because you can go down beneath the waves, and down there it's just water, right? And up here it's water too, but it's a little bit rockier. So you feel sexual, you don't feel sexual, you feel horny, you feel turned off, you feel disgusted, you feel lusty, you feel, whatever. But down here, there's just, the basic energy itself. And, I don't know if I would say a good practitioner, but actually, that's what I would say. But this is one of those things that sounds a little snooty, but it's true. A good practitioner does not give a shit about the waves. It's not moved by the waves. It's not the waves. It doesn't matter. It does. And now this is one of my more controversial things that I'm going to say, but the really good practitioner is not moved by the culture, the physical, the emotional, the intellectual or conceptual, or even the energetic. A good practitioner is moved by the karma. And so you're moved according to the karma, not the way things look. And that can be shocking because it can change the form of how you engage your sexuality. It can change the people, your physical preferences, everything. And a good practitioner is more faithful to the karma than they are to their conceptual ideas of how that karma should be expressed. What I'm saying right now is actually really deep. But what I'm saying is, if you want to have a stable, unmovable, always reliable sexuality, that's how you do it. Is you find the doorway down into the depths of the ocean, and it's always there, but it's not always there according to your conceptual preferences. So I was talking yesterday about a Rosetta Stone, and there's a Rosetta Stone where you have to see how this is sexual, and this is sexual, and this is sexual, and this is a turn on, and this is a turn on, and perfectly designed for you in every moment. I came only for this. That's what we did yesterday. I came only for this. I'm here only for this. This is what I am here to make love to. In this moment, I am here to make love to you in this form, and to open and do my best to have the most precision frequency matching, so that because that's what opens things. And so yesterday we were in a funny light frequency, and today it's a little bit more stable and clarifying, and almost like grounding and a reminder of coming back to where we are. And so to be able to move with each of those and not cling to any one of them, that's how you have sex all the time. That's how you live in the sexual act, which is, that's the promise. The promise I heard was possible, and the promise I discovered is possible, is to have the experience of always making love. Sometimes there isn't lube, but you're you're still in it. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're going out there, guys. Rod asks, as we enter this Aquarius age, what new unveilings, first and later steps can we all do in different similar mirror collectives to bring unity together? I think you just light up. It's this, you bring cause and effect here, and then you do what it takes to discover how to turn on the light in a way that it never turns off again. And then you determine that you will be a source of light for everybody, the friend, the enemy, and the unknown, equally. And then there isn't a lot else to do, I don't think. I think you do that, and then somebody sees you or feels you or gets healed by you, and there's a sort of spiritual dharma, and that spiritual dharma, as far as I can tell, it doesn't always work, but for the most part it does. It does eventually. And that's when you flash on the generosity that's been given you in your life. There's something in the heart that wants to put the generosity back out at some point. It isn't always right away. And so you just keep putting that energy, that generosity out to the best of your ability, because you've received it. And then enough people start doing that in this age of Aquarius, and then we light up the power grid. That's how it happens. And there's a connection to me and I light you up and then you light up the person next to you and then they light up the person next to you. I've been saying the same thing for 30 years, by the way. and then pretty soon, what does begin to happen is it's fun. It's a funny thing in the world how if you're not in the light, we'll say, your own or others, then it looks dark. And then we have this thing, I won't turn on my light until it's light. It's this weird thing. And then, so what happens is, if enough people in a particular area are lit up, then it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing. And so it gets brighter and brighter and brighter. And, that's all I'm interested in, is each one of us doing that for each other. But first we have to do it for ourselves. And then first we have to do it for ourselves in a way that we make a determination that this will not be flickering. This will not be shimmering. This will be on. And it will be a stable and clear light that anybody who ever meets me can rely on, knowing that this light is there for them if ever they feel like they're in darkness. That's the promise that I made to myself, that you might make to yourself. And then there's not much else to do. All of the other stuff goes away. All of the, sunlight is the best antiseptic. And so, I always say, spend all of your energy doing that. Do all of the other stuff later, because you don't even have a mind to do it with until you're lit up. You can't see. And then all of the stuff you realize, definitely I have, and definitely like, oh my God, my best laid plans, my most brilliant ideas were really terrible. And, in retrospect, in fact, I work with, at some point you guys will all meet Drupon. He's my brother, and like my brother. He's my brother cubed, my brother, my soul brother. From a chick who had decided I was never going to let anybody into that spot in my heart again. Dude's in there, okay? He's like deep in there. And I don't even know what I was going to say about him, but at some point you'll meet him. And I think that's good for now. Okay. Do we have to be fully healed with our own collectives before reaching out? Or be like those messengers in the TV show, The Walking Dead, trying to find anyone who is alive? That's a great question. Regardless of their mode of functioning. I don't look at it like that. I don't know, because I don't know. Oh, that's what I was going to say about Drupal. So when I first met him, I spent 4 years arguing with this man, pretty much. I mean, I would just argue. He would get on his scooter. He would go away and teach class and come back, and we would argue more, and I would argue. And then some of the things I said, not many though, but some of the things I'm like, oh God, why was I so argumentative with this most wonderful human being in the world, And I really do want to be an easygoing person. And it's embarrassing to love someone so much and realize I was so difficult. But so that's what I mean. But I couldn't have stopped myself anyway. So back to the do we all have to be fully healed? I think I don't think you look out in a certain way. In a certain way, you only look out to see what's in your immediate field and what what is being asked of you in this moment to heal that is yours. And that's an important thing. Just today, I heard about somebody who was suffering, and I was doing my usual, God is a mother. I love that line, God is a mother. And that's always a good guide in terms of, how to love. So I just thought, this isn't mine. I will actually disable this person if I step in and help. So that's an important question to also ask. Is this mine? Is this mine to help? And then just shine your light according to what you perceive can be received. It's also important, really, really, really important to understand. When I first got my light switched on, I still had a little bit of, we'll just say pride. And so I just kept that light so bright all the time, and people were like in the glare of my light, it like hurt them. My light hurt them. And I was like, oh yeah, see, they just can't take all my light. No, they couldn't. And that's not how you're supposed to use it, Nicole. So then I had to learn, okay, there's a rheostat or a dimmer switch, and you can adjust it according to what people can receive. I walk in Harlem, and there's a lot of grief in Harlem. So if I walk like, happy chick down the street, it doesn't, okay, but I'm not really connecting. And so what I try to do is attune to the frequency that's here so that I can meet what's here as it is here, and then offer whatever I possibly can, but not offer beyond what I can. That's an important thing, because that's another spiritual pride, and bread of shame is a real thing. And especially when you first turn on, you want everyone to have the sense that I always look at my turning on as, I was like a child in the spiritual ghetto, and I don't know if this is even true, but this is my story. And all these people got together and sent me to, spiritual medical school. And I want them all to be very happy that they paid my way, and that I'm ministering to people as best I can from all of the tremendous amount of love that was put in me, And so there you go. That's my answer for today. And Mark, how can men engage the best with Eros in this time, with women, with the culture at large? I have a few answers. I'm going to go straight for the honest one. I used to answer this very differently, so diplomatically. I used to be so diplomatic. And I thought now I should be, then I shouldn't have been, but there you go. The best male friend I've ever had, and the best male friends I've ever had, are those who are incredibly sensitive to me. Well, not deviating for a second. I don't know if you know what Vajra pride is, but not deviating for a second in recognizing my absolute, total, complete nobility. And the people who continue to look at me, not in bowing nobility, but just in the inherent nobility of being located in this body in such a way that constant reflection draws that forward. So then I act in alignment with the nobility that is my nature. Those are my best friends. And I do my best to see them in the same way. And women have really disabled ourselves. It's complex how it works, but we've managed to, let me see if I can talk. I'm going to talk to you about the pussy cartel for a minute. So remember, people who have the locus of their power from here out, all they have is control. So you have this sexual power, but all you have is control with it. So you want to control people with it. And so that's what the pussy cartel does, is it says, if you do this, I'll give you pussy. If you won't do this, I won't. And I will cry a lot, and you will tend to me for crying a lot, but I'll really be crying because I'm not having sex. But I will have so many symptoms, all of the symptoms, 80% of them anyway, will be a result of not having sex, because I will be in this distorted trance of deep-seated victimhood. Remember, we had our victim, martyr, and in spite of person, out of control person. So there will be a deep-seated visceral experience. We talked about the knots that you open in Tumo. There will be a deep-seated visceral experience of being victimized. That feeling is real. I do want to say that. Tumescence is real, man. That feeling is real, but the cause that we ascribe to it isn't. You cannot cuddle her, nurture her, care for her, save her enough in order for that deep-seated sense of victimhood to go away. You can't, because that deep-seated victimhood is a congestion or a knot from not having the flow of her sexuality go through her body. That is the only thing. That is the only thing that will bring relief. And so there are so once you know that, then the world looks a lot different. Oh, wait, she's not crazy. She's not sad. She's not endlessly traumatized. She's not victimized. I mean, not to say that real victimization doesn't exist in the world and real trauma doesn't exist. But what I say is go to the source, and then see. So take that primary knot of congested sexuality, get flow there, and then see what happens. See how profoundly the stories change. Just like I said, I would have a knot and I'd be in my little Vipassana retreat and the knot would open and it would go from like, oh, I'm just a depressed person, I don't think you understand, to I believe that I am enlightened. And it was just a knot. It's just a knot opening, a knot moving. Well, when you get it into the deep instinctual knots, and for women, primarily those knots are sexual, and you get flow in those places, then that deep instinctual sense of being aggrieved or discontented or victimized, that begins to dissolve. And then suddenly you discover all of the stories that you've been given out here, from here forward. All of the stories that you've been given are to solve a fundamental knot that's just non-expressed sexuality. And so you're taking medication for it, and you're having safe spaces, and you're having these freaking, I don't know what they are, conversations, nonviolent communication conversations, and you're doing all of these things to control sensation, because the sensation hurts, because it increases the volume that hits against this locked up knot, and it's going like this anytime arousal hits. So you're constantly trying to turn arousal down in the world. You're trying to turn men down, make sure that they only, see, I'm sorry, I'm gonna lose a lot of friends. So I'm gonna slow it down, Nicole. Make sure that they, I don't know, but make sure, how about make sure that they are really good replicas of women. But then women who don't have sexuality don't even like women, but we're trying to turn men into women. I don't understand it. So all of that is sexual samsara. That's what that is. It's just delusion and illusion chasing itself, running after itself, trying to fix itself and compare yourself to others. That's all it does. And it'll do it endlessly until you go to the source being your sexuality, once the sexuality opens. And so if you can begin to see women through this lens a lot, it's like, they have those, there's a funny comic strip, and it says, I see, it says, how to understand men, and it's like this big, and then it says how to understand women, and it's just like volumes and volumes. No, that is not true. You just understand that this person has a huge congestion with infinite potential locked up behind that congestion, beating it constantly. And if it were to flow deep inside of her, some part of her knows that she would be fully expressed in total nobility, and that she knows who she is and can't be that and lives in that chasm. Then you understand women. You don't need to understand anything more than that. So then you need to understand, how do you be in service to that flow? Well, I can tell you the biggest thing that I would suggest for guys. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I do. I have a genuine compassion. It's part of the reason why I love Bonnie Blue. She actually is one woman who did her part to end world hunger. I understand that there is a certain starvation in men that has you bypass your values and kowtow to women and do things that are outside of your ethical structure, and treat her like she's broken or all of these things just to get some pussy. I understand that. It makes sense to me. Hungry people do. Forgive me what I said when I was hangry. That was one of those T-shirts. I understand that, but my initiation as a woman is to deal with the demons that are at the gate of this sexuality, saying that I'll be burned to death if I release it. Your initiation is to hold true to your ethical structure, recognizing who is located over here behind all of this tumescence, and only relate to that person, whether or not I'm giving you what feeds you. And so even from a starving place, to hold that stance that I am absolutely perfectly, entirely perfect, as I said in the perfection exercise, capable, and that right now there's just a knot that's causing me some pain, that's having me respond and react in strange ways. That's all. And then if you can relate to me that way, the way, I often talk about Ray, I would be batshit crazy, and that man would look at me like I was the most beautiful thing on earth. He had never seen anything so beautiful as I was there in my sweats, smoking a joint with my hair crazy. Oh, honey, you look beautiful this morning. Ray, okay. So there you go. I think that's how men should be. And I do believe, I think we underestimate men tremendously. I think each man knows inside. I, I argue with women about women's inestimable power a lot more than I argue with men. Only we manage to, terrorize you. So you have to negotiate with terrorists. Into like, you have to believe that I am fundamentally broken. We just keep doing that, or you don't get any pussy. And we blackmail you into brainwash you. That's part of the brainwash. We should put that, how men are brainwashed in this thing too. So we brainwash you into believing that we're little girls who are fundamentally incapable, and it's just not true. Which doesn't mean, by the way, if I'm crying, that you should be like, you are an adult woman who's totally capable. You don't have to do that either. You can just respond gently in the moment while still holding the vision. One of the things that Ken Wilber said that I liked was, people who are in samsara, people who are overtaken by tumescence or klesha, really they're just in a bad dream, right? So, but you don't want to be like, hey man, you're just in a bad dream. If somebody is sleeping and having a nightmare, you gently wake them up. Or, if somebody is just sleeping, you give them a pillow and a blanket. You can do that. That's perfectly skillful behavior in my mind. And then she's a lot more likely to emerge. It's a different task for a man. Emergence isn't difficult for him. That's not what he's learning, but that's really what she's learning. And just imagine, through each gate, she's looking for those who are going to burn her on the stake. And so that's how she develops her courage. So make it easy for her to have courage to come out and meet you, and then everyone wins. There you go.
We will take a few reflections, so you can raise your virtual hand and I will call on you. We'll start with Rachel Regan, who I can tell is raising her hand.
That's right. I couldn't get my digital hand to work. Nicole! Hello. Okay, so another incredible talk. The thing that I loved, I love this so much because I didn't believe it for the longest time, that turn on was inside me. I just didn't believe it. And I, even listening to you for years and years, I was like, something in me was like, it's not, it's outside me. It's something, some destination I have to reach, or someone I have to bring in to give it to me. And I just loved how you so clearly transmitted that. And I've had the feeling of that lately. I've had the feeling of that actual turn on, and that it really is the natural byproduct of it is joy and compassion. And it's only from there that I can contribute. And I also didn't believe that either. I thought I could do it every other way other than this. And I just want to say thank you for that. And for, sticking with me when I didn't believe you.
I'm basking in the light of it. You have to thank me. My pleasure, 100%.
And then we have an Instagram one from Lady Groove. She said, I haven't found a teacher that unravels me the way you do in more than a decade. Frustratedly grateful because you are speaking directly to this knot of victim I'm clinging to.
Wow.
This is so deep.
Oh. Deeply moved. Thank you. Really beautiful. So today, I didn't answer all of the questions, and if you have more, send them tomorrow. No, tomorrow I'm not here. Tomorrow I'm doing a podcast with someone, but I'm here on Wednesday. I'll try to answer any of the questions from today or that were left over, provided that the person that I'm speaking with lets me. I don't know what she has in mind for me, but they'll all get answered, I promise. And then Thursday, hopefully, we start on we're going to deprogram, although I think we're kind of already doing it, but anyway.